Dreams. I like the dreams of the future better than the history of the past. Thomas Jefferson. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to believe them. Walt Disney. I'm a dreamer. I have to dream and reach for the stars, and if I miss a star, then I grab a handful of clouds. Anybody?
Is this a quiz?
Mike Tyson. And if I miss a handful of clouds, I beat the shit out of a thunderstorm. He didn't say the last part. I'm making that up, but how often do I get to quote Mike Tyson? We've all had dreams. Some of us fortunate enough to be living them, and others still pursuing them, but we all have them. And from time to time, when we were children, we had dreams. Through our adolescence, we had dreams, and even as adults, we have dreams. One of my favorite lines in the movie is from the movie Dino, Mickey Rourke playing Boogie, when he says, "If you don't have good dreams, Bagel, you have nightmares." I tend to agree, which is why I'm still dreaming today, and usually with a glass of whiskey. Welcome to Whiskey Business, a podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey.
Yes.
I am your host, Dino Tripodis, and our guest bottle, and I'll explain because it's a goodie. A goodie for us in Ohio because it's hard to find. It's the Weller Antique 107. Very hard to find bottle. Not an expensive bottle.
Like $25.
Yeah, but on the second, right now I could have sold this bottle right now on the secondary market for $97.
Wow.
In some cases, I saw it going for as much as $275. And
Don't tell my wife that.
I'll explain why. I'll explain why we're drinking it, because our guest for tonight unfortunately had to postpone and cancel. Summer Stairroot was supposed to be with us, comedian and whiskey enthusiast. We hope to have her back on the show. Upcoming guests on the show will be Jim Canepa. Jim Canepa is the superintendent for liquor control
So we can ask him about the Weller.
in the state of Ohio. And he's coming up, where I think we're talking to him on August the 14th. He will dispel the myth and mythologies about why Ohio supposedly gets shortchanged on all the good stuff. And is Ohio really getting shortchanged on the good stuff? So I'm just kind of teasing ahead. So yes, a canceled guest night, but we're still having a podcast. Who am I having a podcast with? I decided rather than skip a week, because we're on such a wonderful creative flow, that I would incorporate my producer, Greg Hansberry.
Hello.
And a former guest, friend, and videographer for tonight.
I thought you were going to say aficionado, but that would be
Whiskey
wrong.
aficionado, and director John Whitney, who was on the show before. Director
yes.
John Whitney, who has graciously lent his talents to us here recently by giving us our YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube channel now.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
that's what we're doing. So
Whiskey Business Podcast at YouTube, guys.
Thank you. Subscribe now.
With Dino Tripodis.
with Dino Tripodis.
We've got 5 subscribers, and I don't think we've told anybody yet.
We got
so
5?
there's three of us right here.
I've seen.
One is me.
So 2 randoms.
I don't know if I've subscribed or not.
All right,
I don't
that's
even
good.
know. I'm not
It's
sure.
an extra
I'm
random.
not sure I know how.
So that's something to shoot for, though. 6
subscribe to
tonight.
it. But I've seen more than 5 views on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're not talking about it, we got like almost 70 views on the clip, on the whiskey
clip,
shot.
I like the whiskey shots. I think the whiskey shots. We'll stumble across that as we go. But I thought instead of just blowing off the podcast, I thought maybe we would have a conversation amongst ourselves, and that's why I broke out the good bottle, because I consider you both family.
Yay, thank you.
Top shelf friends.
Whiskey
That's
business.
right.
Top shelf friends.
You
You
said
know
top
what?
shelf.
You know what, Hansberry? That's not a bad thing. I got top shelf friends, and I got bottom shelf friends. You know, as far as the whiskey
And the
goes.
Black Velvet friends.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, what did I put on Twitter the other day? Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, one man's swill
Yeah.
is another man's swell. So, and I thought that tonight the topic would be, because while we're all on similar paths, so to speak, at least in respects to this podcast, I wanted to talk about dreams. I wanted to talk about what'd you want to be when you were growing up. When you're growing up, you always have that first raw thought as to what you're going to be when you're a grown-up? John Whitney, what'd you want to be when you were growing up?
I honestly wanted to be an astronaut.
An astronaut.
I wanted to be an astronaut.
All right. What happened?
I became 6'9".
There's no 6'9" astronauts. It's too tall.
No, it's too tall. I believe at the time when I was, even though I can't do math, so it's fine. I would not have made it anyway. I was not very strong in math. Yeah, I think the you couldn't be past 5'9", or there's some guys that were 6 foot, but I think they were cheating a little bit. But you couldn't be more than 6 foot tall.
How do you cheat on your height?
I don't know. There are ways you fudge it. I don't know. You
All right.
wear a weight belt to compress your spine before they measure you. I have no idea. However they do it.
I don't know. I actually went to the doctor on Monday for a physical, and I was actually a half-inch taller.
Really?
You're gonna hit your growth spurt one of these days.
I
Dino.
don't know if since I left the radio station, I've been standing up taller and straighter.
Or laying on the couch longer.
Or something.
Is that what it is?
But I was like, she's like 72 and a half. I go, are you sure? Because I thought I was starting that downward spiral. I was shrinking.
Yeah.
You know?
Gravity's not your friend when you're older.
I thought maybe by the time I turned 60, I'd be, 5'11", 5'10 and a half. But yeah, I don't know.
You got a year.
I shot up a half an inch since the last physical, but I never heard that being too. You can be too tall to be an astronaut.
There's still a limitation, I believe. I think it's higher. I think there are guys that are like 6'4" now, but that's because like the shuttle was bigger and they could fit people in there a little bit easier. But back then, it was like the Apollo capsule, which was like a sardine can, and you had to get 3 guys in there, and it was like teeny weeny guys. So they had to be small. And I've stood next to astronauts who've gone to the moon, and they are short. They're like 5'7", 5'8". They're not very tall guys.
I can't remember when the brothers that were up in space forever, did they come back taller or shorter? I can't.
Usually when you're up that long, you come down a little bit taller because there's no gravity compressing your spine, so
Right.
you come back a little bit taller.
See, you could have been an
knows
astronaut. You
that
had the
much.
answer right
Yeah.
off the bat.
Yeah.
What?
I'm a nerd when it comes to that crap, It's like
So,
it's fun.
and
We're easy to impress too.
at what age did you dash the thought? Like, I'm not going to be an astronaut. When did it's like, okay, this isn't going to happen?
Probably when I discovered that my math skills were just not going to be there, and I knew because my father was kind of in the sciences, and I always like read these magazines like Aviation Week and Space Technology, so I kind of knew. And back then it's like I'm dyslexic, and math is not. I keep messing up my numbers.
You're dyslexic?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When'd you get diagnosed with that?
Probably when I was in 5th or 6th grade, easily. Yeah.
Did they have a test for it back then? Because that was like in the 40s.
Yeah, 1947.
No, did they have a test? Seriously, they had a test for dyslexia back then?
Yeah, they could test you, and then they could figure it out by a series
I keep forgetting
of
that
tests.
I'm older than you guys. So,
But not by much. You're only like 6 years older than I am, Dino.
6 years is huge when you're talking, tests.
Yeah.
When you were in school, did you have a hearing test?
I think, but
Did you have to go to the booth
in the 70s? Yeah.
Yeah, did you have to go into like a trailer where they had a hearing booth and you had to put the headphones on and you had to go?
No, I don't remember that. I remember going to the doctor and
that's
doing
that's some ancient shit right there.
Yeah.
They would test your hearing, because if you weren't paying attention or if you had an attention deficit, which wasn't even a thing back then, they thought, well, maybe he's got a hearing problem.
I think my mom is the one that really did that because she said, "You kids don't listen to me. There must be something wrong with you fuckers. Get your hearing test, God damn
Get
it."
your hearing test. I will come back to you in a second. I want to know, Hansberry, as a child, your first dream. I want to grow up and be a
as a young child, probably a baseball player.
baseball player.
I mean, that's, I think, a lot of young kids. I mean, that's what my 5-year-old wants to be, a baseball player, because that's all you know when you're a kid. You don't have any responsibilities except for going outside and playing in the yard, playing baseball.
Did you play baseball?
I did. All through grade school. I did a little bit in high school, but
You a good ball player?
I was okay.
What position?
I second base, sometimes outfield, because I was quick. So I was little and quick. So I was like a leadoff. I was like to steal bases, like that kind of scrappy player.
Scrappy.
Baseball was my plan B, I think.
Yeah, see?
Batting average, you
I
remember?
love baseball.
I had a decent batting average because I used to bunt a lot because I could beat it out. So I'd bunt. They'd give me the bunt sign, whatever
So
it
you
was.
were fast.
So I'd fast. I'd bunt and beat it out. I'd get a bunt hit, bunt single or whatever, and or advance the runner, and it wouldn't count against my average.
Nice. Playing
So-
National League baseball.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, of course. Cardinals
that was
fans,
the
Reds
dream.
fans here. Yeah.
And at what age did that, like, I'm not going to be a baseball player?
It's funny because when I entered high school, I could go all in on being an athlete, but we also had a spring musical. And we've talked about this on previous episodes, where like, yeah, well, think what you want.
I don't want to be a baseball player.
I want to do Oklahoma.
That's where the girls are, though, man.
It's very true. It's very true. The theater girls are.
If you could have done Damn Yankees, you would have had both bases
We
covered.
did do Damn Yankees.
You did do Damn
Yes,
Yankees.
we did
All
Damn
right.
Yankees. But I had this
Okay.
crossroads where I tried to do both.
That's two
and,
musical references in one podcast.
and-
We have a third one.
So I'm answering your next question. So I kind of evolved to my real dream, which I still kind of have today, which is music and performing. And I knew about that high school age when I decided to do the damn musical than to stick with baseball.
The damn musical
damn
Oklahoma
Yankees.
or the damn
We
musical
did,
Damn Yankees?
I did Oklahoma, Fiddler on the Roof, Damn Yankees, and Into the Woods.
We had the Oklahoma soundtrack on my at home on vinyl. Yeah.
Who'd you play in Fiddler?
I don't even remember. I didn't have a lead role.
Who'd you play in Into the Woods? My daughter did that
Into the
musical in high
Woods, I
school.
was the crazy old man. I don't even remember his name. I think he was like one of the dads. He was like the main character's dad, and he was like a I don't know. You guys see the movie? He was like a man who just lived in the wilderness and was a little nutty.
Did you have musical theater in high school? Did you guys have a program?
We did, but I was never a part of it.
They canceled ours.
I remember you saying that.
I went 4 years without a chance to.
And as soon as you left, they said, "Okay, Dino's gone."
Dino's gone. Let's
Get
start the
him in
musical
here.
theater program up again. So we didn't have plays. We had choir. That was it. I was in choir, and a cappella choir. Yeah.
That's another whiskey business episode.
So like going, "No, Dino, we cannot do any Dean Martin songs."
Even back then, I liked Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra. My first.
Yeah, what's your dream?
Yeah.
My first, honest that I can recall, profession that I wanted to be was a cartoonist.
Oh, sweet.
That's cool.
Nice.
Ask me if I can draw.
Can you draw?
Not a fucking thing. I can't draw to save my life. I think at one point I was able to do a pretty reasonable facsimile of Yippee the turtle in the back of a comic book. If you can draw Yippee, there'll be like an ad in the back of a. If you can draw Yippee, I don't know if his name was Yippee.
It was Tippy.
Tippy or Yippee,
Something.
Either way, it was a cartoon turtle,
Right.
and if you could draw the cartoon turtle, you could have a future as a cartoonist. And I think what I really liked more than the actual drawing of the cartoons was I think I liked writing the humor that went with them, the jokes that might go with them. And there was a point in time where a friend of mine who was very artistic, I say, you write, you draw the pictures, and I'll write the jokes.
Yeah.
And we'll have a famous cartoon strip. And that didn't happen.
It's funny you say that because I remember my mom always saying, "Greg, you were such a good artist. You should have stuck with it." And I remember liking doing art, but it never was like a dream of mine that I would want to pursue. I still like doing art stuff now, but
Did you guys have guidance counselors?
Sure.
And did you have guidance counselors that suggested what type of career maybe you should consider given your aptitude?
To be honest, I didn't see my counselor that much. When I was in high school, I was kind of in a time in my life where I didn't feel like I was even going to go to college. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was playing basketball, and that was what I was doing, and I was...
How tall are you?
I was 6'8", and then it was 6'9".
Okay, yeah, you better have been playing basketball.
So I didn't know if I wanted to go at all. I didn't know if I would just wanted to work or whatever. I'm kind of the same, similar to things that are going on in my life right now with people in my life. But I never did. But I ended up. So the answer, no. I never.
There wasn't you guys didn't have, once again, I'm older. You guys didn't have an aptitude test that you took in high school that maybe like you should go to college and pursue medicine. You shouldn't even bother with college. You should just get
I
it.
don't remember.
I don't remember taking that.
And by the time I was in high school, they were very like, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I went to.
No, that was not the case.
I guess no pressure was what I was trying to get at.
That was
yeah.
not the case
I went
in my
to,
high school. If they didn't think you were college worthy, they did not push it. They said you should work in the mill and be happy about it. And I almost did stay and not go to college because I got a job in the steel mill the summer before.
Down in where was it?
Down at Wheeling Pittsburgh Steel.
Oh, really?
Right there in Steubenville. Yeah, and I got a job. I was making good money. Real good money, 18 years old and making more money than I'd ever seen in my entire life. Why should I go to college? Then they put me in the blast furnace for 2 weeks, and I said, sign me up.
I can't imagine that. I've been on video shoots where we've gone to steel plants and mills, and they're, oh my God, I cannot imagine standing in that heat for all day long.
Oh, it was
for 30
years.
years.
You couldn't work the blast furnace more than, if I recall, more than like 15, 20 minutes an hour because the heat was so intense. Oof. And the job I had before that were like the easiest. You wonder why the steel mills went down, and there was so much money that was wasted. I had one job where I literally was told to sweep from one end of the floor to the other. I said, okay, and when I get done, then what?
Do it again.
Sweep it back.
I bet.
That was my job for 8 hours. I had to look busy and sweep the floor. And then the other job that actually required, somewhat of a manual skill, I was a coil bander. I had to stick the metal coils around the big bands of steel and fasten them and send them on their way. That at least was, and those came, really like 1 an hour. So, at least I had that to look forward to. But yeah, there was just money just being thrown at people, and then
still hiring.
Then the steel industry took a hit, and the rest is.
Is that place? Is it closed now?
Sad history. It's if it's not closed, a lot of the air portions of it are closed. It's like a nominal amount of work that's in there. But my aptitude test, which you guys didn't take, said that I should consider a job in the priesthood.
Father Tripodis.
I could have been Father Dean. Yeah. and I said, really? He goes, yes, because I had an aptitude for working well with people.
People person, yes, I can see that.
I don't know why it leaned towards the priesthood, but I went like.
Your mom didn't go in there and say, "I want a priest in my family."
That's the thing, Well, I would have been a Greek Orthodox priest, and Greek Orthodox priests can actually marry if they get married before they're ordained. They can have a wife. Yes.
Well, that's not so bad.
No, it's not so bad. But I disagreed with that calling. I was put in the blast furnace, then off I went to the Ohio State University, which back then, all you had to do was be a resident of the state.
Yes.
And they had to take you. They didn't have to keep you.
Yes.
But they had to take you. They had to take you, and they took me.
And you studied criminology, correct?
Criminology and English literature.
So then when did the cartoon bubble burst? Just when you realized
when I realized that, all I could draw was
Yippee
or Tippy the turtle. And that was pretty much.
You couldn't get Billy the Stick Boy off the ground.
Right? I don't know, because it's interesting, because that's one area of creativity that I almost kind of want to explore again. Not cartooning or being a cartoonist, but painting. Ever wondered, like, you think as you get older that there's something you've never done before that's always been like
George W.
Like in the back of your mind, interest, and you never either had the time or the energy to pursue it, and you go, one of these days I'm going to what?
Become a painter. Oh, me.
Anything?
Oh, you know what? One of my big dreams was is kind of connected to being an astronaut. I wanted to get my pilot's license, buy an old like World War II seaplane, and just retire down to the Bahamas, ferrying people back and forth between the islands, and live on the plane.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really awesome.
I'll do that. That's my new dream too. Yeah, I like that
I
one.
like that too.
Yeah, that'd be really awesome.
And just
chill out and drink and but I'd be like this skinny old guy, with gray hair, just barely making it from one place to the other. And
old man Whitney.
that's right.
you're going up in old man Whitney's plane. Good luck.
I'd be like Jimmy Stewart, and that'd be nice. It'd be fun.
Well, you can still do that.
I could still do that.
That's still
I can
a
still do
potential
that.
dream. Hansberry, you're locked in right now with raising 2 kids, and you got your beautiful wife. And
I really can't answer
it's-
that question.
so,
well,
maybe it's not there yet.
I think that's the case because as we kind of probably dig deeper into this conversation, I still feel like I'm trying to do my first dream or my second dream, which is the music and the performing.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. The music and performing, because you produce the morning show at Sunny 95, which is music related,
Right.
but not your music, and performing it. And we always used to tease you about the fact that you always wanted to be on our Christmas show. And I was
Finally
at
got a
the radio
gig,
sta-
and they made my kids sing. They wouldn't let me sing.
Well,
And
Dino,
we always said no.
Yeah, well, so,
I mean,
I got a job, talking kind of more about the career path. I wanted to do music or write music and record music. I went to school at University of Dayton, and I went to my college advisors, and they
he's
go,
a flyer.
They go, well, we don't got that, but here you go. Here, work at the radio station. And I just took to that, and college radio is a fucking blast. It's a hoot. You just
WVUD?
UDR.
UDR.
So that's where I kind of just was forced into that because it was a career path. And then
forced or one that you must have dug it on some level because you worked in Chicago. You worked with John Brandmeier in Chicago.
It's a cool gig.
You've worked in some major markets doing your thing.
But I think at the same time, I also sacrificed not following. I think that was like a turning point where I was like, I could stay here at Dayton and do this radio thing, or bail and go somewhere else,
right?
And go all in on the music recording or whatever I wanted to do. And I decided to stay at Dayton for several reasons. One, because of my wife, my girlfriend at the time.
Dreams.
Dayton's not such a bad place.
Dreams like that, it is tough to hold on to them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My daughter is a singer-songwriter,
right,
living in New York City, and she works her ass off, or did up till just recently, worked her ass off in a bar. She's a great bartender. She's a general manager of a great, rock and roll bar, and brought all her creativity and skills to that. But her dream is still singer-songwriter. She's getting a lot closer as we speak. I don't want to jinx anything, but I can't go into details about it. But she's getting closer to that dream. But that's a harsh reality when you have to say this might not happen.
Well, yeah, but most dreams never really die if they're rooted deep in your soul, right?
And nor should they ever die. But they may not die. But there has to be a point, or maybe that's a question. Is there a point where you say, you know what? I got to eat.
Reality in real life takes over.
I got to eat.
Exactly what it was. I decided, well, I'm again, the social life, and B, I'm going to need a job, so I might as well get a job in this.
I mean,
this
could you
industry.
go to your wife has a good job?
Yeah.
Could you go to your wife tomorrow and say, honey, I've decided to follow my dream?
She doesn't have that good of a job.
Good news. I just bought 5 years worth of diapers.
Yeah.
What would she say? And
again, it comes down to the practicality and reality of it. Like we couldn't pay our mortgage, so I couldn't do it.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I could.
So you're a responsible dreamer.
Well, right.
It's still in your back. You still play music, right?
I still well, and
You still write music?
Yeah, and actually, more recently, we've gotten together and started to do more. And we went to a studio here recently and recorded some stuff. So we're.
Do you have a band?
Well, we have a group of us. We have
No name yet?
Well, we don't really have a name yet. We're just buddy. It's a lot of guys in the same scenario, young 30-something dads who have real fucking jobs, but we still have this dream.
That's the name of the band right there. 30-something dads.
30-something dads.
30-something dads is the name of the band.
We all got fucking jobs.
30-something dads. That's the band right there.
But at some point, I made the decision. I don't know if it's conscious or unconscious to follow the radio thing and follow my wife. I don't have any resentment against getting married and having kids at all.
You shouldn't. No. She's awesome.
No,
but
it's all good.
It was that or bail and stay. At the time, I was living in Indianapolis with a bunch of my sloppy buddies that were playing in bands and gigging around. I mean that in a
good
term
way,
of endearment.
right?
Very, we were sleeping on each other's couch and stealing Wi-Fi from the library and stuff. But we were playing music and had this little cool scene going.
But that was you're in your 20s, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
that's the time to do that, which I never had the opportunity to do.
Did you just sleep on anybody's couches when you were doing comedy?
Well, no, I didn't do comedy. See, I did everything backwards.
Right, I know. Yeah.
I got married when I was 21, had a baby,
right,
worked 2 jobs that, while I worked for wonderful people, I was working 2 jobs just to keep, money coming in. And in my 20s, dreams, no, not in the equation. That's
you're too responsible a guy, right?
You know what? Psychologically, we can really get into it and say that, I could tell you what the biggest motivation was at that point. Yeah, there was a responsibility, but probably the biggest motivation was I didn't want to be a dick of an old man, a dick of a father like my father was.
Sure.
My father,
you don't want you don't want to be in this.
I didn't want to like what's bred in the bone. I did not want that to come to fruition where I didn't care about the welfare of my child growing up. So I refused to be that guy. We wound up getting divorced, but even after that, that was still a priority in my life.
Sure, yeah.
To make sure that her care and welfare was first before mine ever was. When I got divorced, I did the investigative work, and then I reluctantly went into stand-up as just for fun, and then
reluctantly. How do you reluctantly go into something like
because
that?
Because it wasn't. I never had the dream. Of being a stand-up comedian.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because that's kind of what you are doing. That's what the career path you've had. What's your? You obviously don't want to be a cartoonist anymore.
Don't want to be a cartoonist anymore.
At what point did you
I could only draw Yippee.
That would be a boring stand-up, just cartooning and stand-up comedy at the same time.
Although you're onto something. At what point did your dreams evolve to whatever they are now, whether they're stand-up related or performance related, writing or whatever?
That's a good question.
Because if they're not stand-up, what are your dreams?
I don't know if they were so much dreams, but they were. I don't know if I just seized an opportunity because
something you're good at.
When I was married and working those 2 jobs that I just worked just to get a paycheck and had to work 2 jobs because one job wasn't cutting it. I had to work 2 in order to make a decent amount of money. But I would go into the garage. And I had a little desk out in the garage. And once again, let me go back to ancient times.
You had your typewriter?
I had a typewriter.
You still have one.
I still have typewriters.
I see dust on that Mac over there.
That Mac is just for show. Never mind. Sidebar.
Yes.
I forgot. I left it unplugged. It took me forever how to figure out just to plug the goddamn thing in and get it charged back up. Yeah. So, but
old man Tripodis.
It hasn't moved since last week.
But I figured it out. Well, yeah, I had a typewriter out in the garage, and whatever hours I had after the baby went to sleep, and the couple hours, and sometimes it was in the middle of the night, I would go out there and I would write. So, and I would write funny stuff, serious stuff, whatever the case might be. I was probably more prolific writing in my 20s Granted, it was crap, because
So do you think comedy kind of you went toward comedy as a way of getting your material, what you were writing, out there?
maybe I don't know, because maybe it was just I always used humor as a tool. When the jobs I had, this is where I hear a lot of people think where they make a mistake. A lot of people, well, I'm funny at work, so I should be a stand-up comedian.
Right.
I make everybody laugh at work, so I should be a stand-up comedian. Well, I was one of those guys where I did make everybody laugh at work, and I was funny at work. Now, I didn't think I'd be a stand-up comedian. I only went to stand-up when it first happened to relieve the stress. I was an investigator, and I was working 2 very complicated cases at one time, and used to love to go to comedy clubs just to chill out and relax. And then one night there was an amateur night, and I went up and I started talking about, you're right, some of the things that I had written about my family. I started doing jokes about my family. Everything I did on stage was honest. It wasn't, I went to Taco Bell last night at 2:00 in the morning, and no, it was about being divorced and having a neurotic mother and a overbearing.
I remember those really older early jokes about your mom.
Yeah. So, and probably the worst thing that could have happened was I got laughs, which is very addictive.
Yeah.
They like me.
Yeah.
You're performing music,
Right. Sure.
And people, stand up and applaud your music and tell you that they love that song. That's addictive.
Yeah, well, and to bounce off of that, I feel like when I was 20 and wanted to play music, I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to have a million fucking followers and sell records and stuff. And now I still have that to kind of what you were saying, John, earlier about your dreams are still inside of you as a passion. I still want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna fly to LA and gig. It's more about getting that material out there, and I think technology is allowing us to do that and just put stuff up on the SoundCloud and do stuff.
I agree with that. I think the only thing that I think the thing that is good about living on the coast is that you get meetings faster. If you're talented and then people want to talk to you, they'll find a way to meet with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
It doesn't really matter right now because of the technology of where you live. Although the opportunity of people seeing you is higher because there are talent scouts on the coast, not so much in Columbus.
No, not so much in Columbus, but in today's world, where you can put auditions
Anywhere.
and send them out, and people want to
Yeah.
see if people like you enough, though.
And record companies have like people who troll sites, and all they do is listen to things. I give you an example. I made a film called it's the one with the bullhorn and the guy who was trying to be a filmmaker, and it was like this little tiny 1-minute film that I just was like I did for fun, and I put it out there. I get a call from IFC, the Independent Film Channel, and they're saying, "Hey, we were on this site and we saw your film. Can we put it on IFC?" I'm like, going,
Sure.
"Fuck yeah." Do you know what I mean? So it's like they troll places, and you don't know. And I am in Columbus, Ohio, and I have this film that's been on IFC, and it's just, granted, it's when they were like really begging for material, but back in the day, but still. But people are out there looking. You don't have to be in LA or New York or Chicago to get discovered.
But I guess the point is that it's less, at least in our situation, it's less about the accolades and having the millions and millions of dollars, and more about following your dream because it's a passion, because you want to do it and you just want to get that material out there.
And while there may be people trolling, like you say, what I've learned just from my daughter's experiences is that nobody walks into a nightclub anymore and says, "Sign that kid."
Yeah.
Those days are gone. The record
You, my friend, will be a star.
Yeah, the record
Gene
companies
Simmons
now.
sitting with a cigar.
Now you have to actually put your product together yourself, almost, and present it as a package.
Yeah.
And the record company, you got to do all the legwork ahead of that. And the record company says, "Okay, well, you can sign with us."
I think is part of that. Maybe this is a question for you. Was part of that, like, if you present yourself to a record company as a complete package, somebody who can write a song, maybe, I don't know if you sing or whatever, write a song, but produce an album, and they see this guy can do a lot with nothing. Let's give him nothing, and maybe he'll make us some money. Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
I wouldn't doubt that's a thought that crosses. I can't speak for
You know what I
music
mean?
executives.
Yeah, we need
but
less. We don't need to sink as much money into this guy. Or
well,
gal
just
or
like, does this
whatever.
guy
Yeah.
have talent? Can he really come through? And can we trust this guy with $500,000 to make 3 albums or whatever it would be, whatever that number would be?
and will we get that money back?
Yeah.
because it's not about CDs and records anymore. Even though vinyl and whatnot's making a comeback and so
Right.
forth, it's not that anymore.
It's about YouTube hits and
It's
Spotify
YouTube.
plays and yeah.
It's about downloads and people paying money to hear a song. That's crazy. I did have the dream. One of the side dreams was actually to be an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because growing up as a kid in Steubenville, Ohio, and living with my grandmother, which I've mentioned in previous podcasts, the only thing I was allowed to do under her watch was go to the library and go to the movies. So I fell in love with the movies, and I would watch the Academy Awards every year since I was a kid, and actually had that dream in my head that someday I'm going to be up there.
As an actor
As
or
an actor.
director, writer?
No,
Yeah,
at the time it was an
Yeah,
actor.
yeah.
It was an actor. Now, as I'm older, I do. Well, John Whitney I've worked with John on several
Right.
things, and now I'm the reluctant actor.
Why are you a reluctant? I don't understand this.
I'm a reluctant actor now. I am. It's so weird. People say, people want to take pictures or something, like Facebook and this, and I go, I hate taking pictures. I don't mind being in front of the camera. Like, I hate this right now. The fact that
You'll get used to it.
that we're YouTubing this,
Yeah, that's
because
fine.
it's me. I don't mind being in front of your camera as a character.
Yeah,
I'm fine, because it's a different reality.
sure.
This, I'm a little uncomfortable.
This is fine. I've forgotten about these things. These 2 cameras right here. I've totally forgot about them.
Yeah,
The 2 things
I'm
right
very
there.
much aware of them.
And then what about you, John? What we kind of glossed over after
Oh,
the
we didn't
astronaut.
gloss. I was coming back to
Okay,
him.
all
Don't
right.
you worry.
Yeah,
I'm not done with John Whitney, or you for that
All
matter.
right.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'll let you.
But John Whitney, no. Okay, so when
Hit
did the light bulb go off that said I want to make movies?
I briefly talked about this when I was on your show last time. My father was in television, right? So I was kind of connected to media
Sure.
at the time, and so I was always exposed to the process. Although it was news, but I knew what went
Your
into
dad
it.
was a weatherman.
He was a weatherman.
meteorologist.
No,
Was it a weatherman or a
no.
meteorologist?
At that time, weathermen were put in. Well, he was a reporter. He first started in Texas and San Antonio in the Air Force. He was a reporter for like the newspaper and
Right.
the base newspaper, and he was a photographer. With his little 16mm camera at a small station in San Antonio, Texas. And then we moved to Dayton and then became a reporter with a little camera. And he would go out and where'd Dad go? I think there was a car wreck down the street. Okay, well, then he's going to take pictures of that. So I was always kind of exposed to the process of collecting moving images and how that worked out. You know what I mean? So in high school, I was part of a media program that was half a day you were at your regular high school, and the half a day you were either on radio or on television on the high school branded TV show.
You had that. You had that in high school.
I had that in high school.
You had those facilities.
WDPS in Dayton, brother.
Unbelievable.
There you go. There you go.
That's right. I had a flow chart and everything.
Listening to you guys, I may as well have been in a one-room schoolhouse back in Steubenville, Ohio. It was because all the extras
That's right.
didn't exist. But
Hey man, I played Tate and Love when I had to take a piss, brother. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I gotta take a piss. Tate and Love.
So
Go.
and you realized you had a talent for it.
I had a knack for production. So I was playing basketball, and I went to junior college to play basketball. And at the time, I thought I wanted to be, I don't know why, I wanted to be a basketball coach, right? And then I stopped playing basketball, and I was washing dishes at the Cork and Cleaver in Dayton, Ohio.
The Cork and Cleaver.
The Cork and Cleaver in Dayton, Ohio. And
whatever happened to the Cork and Cleaver?
I think there's one or two left in the world. I'm not sure. I think Indiana's got one.
The Cork and Cleaver and the Brown Derbies.
Yes.
Whatever happened to those places?
Great pork rinds.
You have no idea what I'm talking about. These are restaurants that were before your time.
Yes.
Racks.
So where was I? Oh, and so I was washing dishes, and I was like going, there's got to be more to life. I'm not going to be a basketball coach. What do I love? And I remember going to movies with my father. We went to, I think I may have talked about this in our last podcast, but I saw every Planet of the Apes at the drive-in movie theater. I always went to movies because I loved films.
Right.
And I had a connection with production. I said, fucking making movies. So I went to Ohio State and studied film. And that's how I got into it. So that dream was a kernel of like me growing up around production. And that was kind of how it worked out.
Your brother Gil, is he younger or older than you?
He's older than I am by about a year and a half.
He is a cinematographer.
Correct.
And a great one.
Yeah, he's good.
So did you see Big Brother doing
I
that?
did not, because Gil actually worked for a bank, and he was more of an IT guy.
Interesting.
And then he
So it's not
decided
like
to go back to school.
It's not like I like what Big Brother's doing. I want to do what Big Brother's doing as well. So
I don't,
that had no influence.
I think maybe he saw how much fun I was having, and then maybe he had a knack for it. And
he
and
came
interest.
into it after you did?
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
he came after I did.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So you led the way.
He might be listening. So yeah, he decided on his own that he.
Well, I mean, he made the decision, but
No. I don't know if I influenced him or not. I think he saw I was doing some stuff that was kind of fun, and maybe he decided that he wanted to be part of it. And in a weird way, that's kind of the family business. In a weird cousin-y kind of half cousin kind of way, news to filmmaking and production. It's kind of a family business, really, because
yeah, it is.
Because my grandfather worked for CBS in New York, and it's just like all this stuff that kind of.
And does your son have any interest in that field at all?
Not at all.
Not at all. So it's
Thank God.
And what about Gil's? Does Gil's son have any interest in that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Is the Whitney film dynasty going to die?
It will die with our semen. Yes.
I have more questions for you, but I'm gonna come back to them because they'll be, I think, more appropriate towards the end. Anybody else in your family musically oriented? I mean, his dad was in the television business. He was a reporter. It was on TV.
A weatherman.
Mm-hmm. I love the fact that he was a weatherman. Had nothing to do with any meteorology. He was just an attractive man telling you if it was going to fucking rain.
That's right.
Yeah, and people loved him.
We can get into more of that later. Hansberry.
But not at a professional level, so to speak. My grandmother on my dad's side went to Indiana University and was all into the big music department there, and we have these old pictures of her doing things. And my dad played drums in a garage band growing up. On my mom's side, the same thing. Her brothers and everybody played guitar, and they had the organ in the house.
But did they have aspirations of being big in music?
My uncle did. He's kind of like I did. He just kind of threw some. He wrote some songs and recorded them here and there. Was into music. He lived out in Austin, so he worked at Austin City Limits. But just working tech stuff.
That's pretty freaking sweet, man.
Yeah. But he was never. But he was never a performer, so to speak.
But he kind of stayed in the field.
He stayed in the field a little bit, but nothing super. It's always been around, and listening to music growing up obviously was a huge part. But not in a professional way, follow this career path. Which I think part of why I'm not pointing any fingers or anything, but I wonder. I just never had any direction of someone being like, "This is how you do it, kid. Right. Go do this." I mean, not that there's a magic bullet for something like this, but it just was like, well, go to school and get a degree and good luck.
Are either of you haunted by the what if? What if I had done this, and what if I had maybe not done that? Would life be different, and would you be any closer to the dreams?
I don't get haunted with that kind of thought. Only because if I would have done anything different, I would not have the life that I have today.
That's it.
I wouldn't know my wife Jen.
Yep.
I wouldn't have
That's
my
it.
son Kirk. I wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have
understand.
my friends.
I think that's very healthy.
I'm more of a. I guess would that be a fatalist? No, would that be fate? I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
well, yeah. I mean, identical answer. If I would have stuck with the chasing my dream with my buddies in the, beat up minivan, then I wouldn't have my wife or kids be where I am today, and I don't resent any of that.
Life is choices.
Right.
Absolutely.
Life is choices. Life is directions. Life is a series, not just one. I think it's a series of forks in the road.
Yeah.
And you have to decide, if I'm going to go right or left, if I'm going to take that particular exit, or if I'm going to keep going straight.
And there's no guaranteeing that if we went the other fork that we would be successful millionaires.
I mean, I might still be married to a crackhead wife and have some son that has murdered people and is in jail and somewhere in California. But
What a great film
beyond
that would make. What a great film that would have made. No, I get it. I just...
Well, sorry to interrupt.
No,
but that's the thing too, I guess. In a way, I mean, we're still, as like I was saying earlier, my dream has evolved. It's not to have that $1 million, dollar contract, but it's just still creating and doing that craft and helping people that will eventually will appreciate it, and that's what you guys are doing still too, to some degree.
Yeah,
to some degree.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
You still have to be creative in order to stay sane, I think.
Yeah.
That's the
If you're a
big
creative
thing.
person.
Yeah.
I think if you're a creative person and you don't utilize your gift on any level, that I think is truly sad.
Yes.
If you stifle it and if you smother it and don't respond to that, for lack of a better word, muse, so to speak, on any level, I think you're doing yourself a huge disservice.
That would be the biggest regret. Just not trying to do something. And
So you can go down in the basement and you can
fuck
write
around
music
keyboards and
have satisfaction.
Yeah, and I get a kick out of doing these podcasts. I mean, although they're not.
I gotta admit, I am a little disappointed that neither one of you said that your dream was to have a whiskey podcast.
But in a way, I like it's creating. It's these. It's although it's not the. It's
When
not
I
the
had
White
my penis
Album.
in my hand this morning,
Well,
my dream was to be on this podcast.
On the podcast. That's it. When I was a kid, I dreamed that I would have a podcast. I didn't know what a podcast was
They
back
weren't
then.
invented.
They weren't invented yet. But I had a
Years
dream
ago.
that someday I would sit in my house smoking cigarettes incessantly, drinking bourbon, and with the hopes that people would listen to my whiskey babble.
Yes.
That
we
dream,
get a few of you.
that
Thanks.
dream has come true, and that 8 people would watch it.
6 subscribers.
Bob, Tom, Tammy, and Jamie, thank you very much for listening.
Yeah. How successful is your YouTube channel? Well, we can name all 6 people watching it. Is that good?
Stop looking at the clock, man. We don't give a fuck about time. Time don't matter right now.
Well,
I just keep
he's
it-
a
it's part of
guest
my
on the
job.
podcast, but
That's true.
he's also
He's trying to wear 2 hats
he's,
right now.
he's also the producer. So you're pouring some more Weller.
I am.
And
Should we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We should
Yeah.
talk about it for a second because that is part of the podcast. We are supposed to talk about the whiskey. This is the Weller Antique 107, the original wheat bourbon. I don't know what the mash bill is. A lot of people say it's unknown. Weller, of course, from the Van Winkle family, and this is the one that disappears off the shelves now because when it becomes available, like I said, it's a reasonable purchase at $27 to $30 a bottle. But since people can't afford or get the Van Winkle, they immediately flock to the Weller, and it's a great, great bourbon. It really is.
When I walked into the place to grab my Weller on Saturday, there was about 6 on the shelf. When my wife went back to get one for you, there was like 1.
One.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my friend went to go try to buy some, and they actually had a sign up that said "No more Weller." They were done. I mean, it's and I will in the upcoming podcast with the superintendent of liquor control for the state of Ohio, I will ask him, why there seems to be a shortage of the good stuff, which they, in emails back and forth, say that might necessarily be the case, and you might be surprised at the strides that Mr. Canepa is taking
I'm glad to hear that.
to make Ohio a more bourbon whiskey friendly state.
There is a lot of money and state taxes to be made here in Ohio for people who love bourbon.
Did you pick up on anything? This has got a strong cinnamon.
Well, it's sweet because it's more of a wheat mash bill,
yes.
correct?
Well, we don't know what the mash bill is. I can tell you that it's aged about 6 to 7 years, and that's a guesstimate. But I'm not certain what the mash bill is in respects to the Antique 107.
A little
all
bit
I can
of
tell you is
spice.
that the 107 stands for the proof.
Yes.
So
It's hot. I can taste that.
A
Hot,
little spice, some vanilla.
It's sweet right up front.
You mentioned cinnamon earlier, and I do
cinnamon.
agree with that once you mentioned
the
that.
cinnamon. I get the cinnamon before and after. And now I have one full bottle of Weller Antique 107 left. So this is like
And a half.
Oh no, that's going to go lower before the night's out.
Mine's right about here,
Yeah.
which
is fine. You know what? Because what's the point, people? For those of you who aren't watching the YouTube video of this and are just listening, can I just share something? A lot of people collect whiskey. Collect art. I've said that before on a podcast. Drink whiskey. Share it with somebody you love, respect, that has an appreciation for it.
Or me.
or Greg. But, it's supposed to be opened, and it's supposed to be poured, and it's supposed to be, enjoyed. I hate the fact that oh, no, we don't, that's just a collector's bottle. I mean, there's a bottle of Old Rip Van Winkle up there that I could sell for $675. I'm going to open that bottle before it's all said and done. Now, granted, I'm going to wait for a special occasion.
Is it the 100th podcast?
Huh?
The 100th podcast?
Is this the 100th podcast?
No. You will open it during the 100th
like
podcast.
that.
Oh, I can do that. I can do that. It's like 100 podcasts.
But I must be your guest that night.
Yeah, that's
I'll
fine.
be there, so I don't care.
Can't you appreciate that this is our 61st bottle? This is bottle 61. We've had more than 61 podcasts.
Yeah, we're around 70.
Have you guys repeated at all?
Repeated whiskeys?
Yes.
No, there's not. But that's why I mark them down.
Well,
I don't put them online.
Uh-oh, here we go.
There it is.
let me take a
Little
picture of
inside
that.
baseball right now, guys.
Right there.
I'm going to take a picture of it and post it.
I use a thing called a pen and paper, and there.
I'm going to post this to the Instagram account. And
That's
if anybody
fine.
cares, they can find it on
That is
Instagram.
it right there.
And you can't read
Very
my
nice.
handwriting, but yeah, I mark down each time we have a different whiskey. We're at 61.
And nothing's been repeated.
Nothing's been repeated. There have been brands like, say, Four Roses,
Sure.
and then maybe Four Roses single barrel.
Yeah.
But never the same.
Different label.
Whiskey
It
twice.
counts.
We've had a couple. We've had the Gentleman Jack Daniels single barrel. We've had Jack Daniels products, but never the same whiskey. There's no reason to have the same whiskey. There are so many.
There's so many, you're right.
I'll never get through all the whiskeys that are available before this podcast is.
But at some point,
something-
you'll have to get a bigger house.
I have to get a bigger house or drink more whiskey and go through the bottles quicker.
A low in calorie. It's good for you.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
It's better than pounding those heavy IPAs.
No doubt.
I can't. I don't know how you do that repeatedly. I mean, one IPA, I'm good. And
I've lost weight drinking whiskey, so there's that.
there is that. There is that. Because you had to cut out the beers.
I did because of because of the little diabetes thing I'm going through. But it's okay.
The little diabetes.
Let's not talk about that.
We can.
Yeah.
What do you?
I'll edit this out. By the way, I'm posting the list of all the whiskeys on our Instagram.
Because you might as well
Whiskey
get that.
Business.
Say that now. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, so subscribe or follow us on Instagram. It's Whiskey Business Podcast. We post
man.
pictures and
That cinnamon just pops at me from the nose to the taste to the after.
This stuff is so good, man.
It really is. It really is.
And it's only $25 a freaking bottle.
I paid $27, I think.
27.
27, I think. Yeah.
So I wasted my gas money to go down to London, Ohio for
You didn't waste it. That was a
for
good
$2 less.
that was a good trip. That was
Oh,
a
my
good trip.
God.
You brought me back a bottle of Special Reserve, and then I picked up another handle of it just on Tuesday. So
That was like because there was a message on a board that I board with how old I am, a page on Facebook, right?
on your AOL account.
My AOL board, saying like Weller in the Wild, and this is where it's at. And that was at 7:30 on Friday night, and then the next morning I read that, I'm like, going, Jen, we're going to go on a road trip. And why? Because we're going to go find some bourbon. And maybe they'll have some Elmer tea there too, because maybe this guy likes Weller and there's some Elmer tea there. I don't know.
I asked about the Elmer tea for you when I picked up the spot, and he only had 3 bottles of it, and and that's the thing. You have got to now, if you are a bourbon enthusiast, and you actually have to establish relationships.
I'm trying
with various liquor agents in the city that will put you on a list and give you a heads up when something special comes in.
But
that's
I hate
the only
people.
reason I got the
hate
handle.
People. Sorry, no. Just
So I know you hate people that do that. I know, but what choice do I have?
no.
At least the bottles when I get them. At
Yeah.
least the bottles are going to someone who shares.
That's true.
Yes, thank
I
you.
agree.
You know, not somebody who hoards.
No.
Somebody who shares. And what I tell you, you were going to bring over a bottle of Colonel Taylor tonight.
Yeah.
And what I tell you,
keep it there.
keep
because,
it there.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming over.
That's true.
And I want you to have good bourbon when I come over.
Oh no! Oh, thank you.
That's why.
I keep trying to push like old
Granddad Bonded. We'll get that one. That was good. I tried that at your house for the first time, and we'll have that on the podcast because that's one of those bourbons that we love. It's under 20. It's under $50 a bottle. It's like $24 a bottle.
Oh no!
20?
$19.
Oh shit!
$19 a bottle, my friend, and that stuff is like good.
Yeah, there's so many good whiskeys that are affordable.
Should we like continue on or what?
No. We're going to continue on. Actually, I'm going to start wrapping it up here a little bit because I want to go back to some final questions for all of us, and I'm hoping that you'll be just as candid and honest as you've been all evening long. When it comes to dreams that we all still have, I still have some dreams of things that I want to do. I guess my question is, are you there? Are you where you want to be?
Dude, okay, so let me ask you something. When you have a dream and the dream has not ended, are you always at the finish line? I'm never at the finish line in my dream.
He answered a question with a question.
No, what I'm saying
This is going to blow up. The podcast is going to blow up.
I don't know what to do. He answered a question with a question.
goddamn that motherfucking goddamn John Whitney. Fuck him.
Well played, sir. Well played.
I'm not where I want to be at all. My dreams have not been fulfilled yet because I'm not where I want to be. I'm doing what I want to do, but I'm not making the kind of money I want to do while doing what I want to do. I used to do drugs, but then I used to.
And I used to use the word do way more often than I do now.
You know, Mitch Hedberg. Anyway, so, but yeah, I'm not quite there yet. You know what I mean? It's like I want to continue to try, and that's what kind of drives me, drives my dreams, is that I continue to work hard as I can.
So when I say, are you there, the fact that you are working, you're not in your head.
No, not there yet. Not at all.
But you kind of are.
In what way, Dino? Please enlighten me, because I want I want to be in a spot where people give me money to make movies.
I understand that. Right. And that is
you know what I mean?
That is a bigger dream.
Yes.
But as far as the dream, as you moved through life and progressed as the responsible adult that you are you doing what you love?
Absolutely. And
So
now
in
you're
that
saying,
respect,
and
are
that
you-
look was
in
the
that
dream has been fulfilled because
well,
I'm doing
asking,
something.
are you there? Now, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it has to stop. there, because I guarantee you, I know this much about you. If someone paid you money
Yes.
to make a film,
Yes.
and that film was awesome, and that film went on to garner awards, let's go crazy and say the Oscar, your dream wouldn't be done. You wouldn't stop there.
No, not at all.
No, you wouldn't.
Of course not.
No, you would follow it up with a really shitty movie. And everybody would say, he's lost his magic, he's lost
He's
his
the
art.
new Kevin Smith.
and then you come back and make another great movie. But I'm saying that your dream, I mean, that is like pouring down, rainbows if you were to get to that level of success. But you wouldn't stop making films.
No.
So in essence,
It's almost like you don't stop breathing.
right?
You have to keep moving. And it's kind of like I always like equate productions and my career as a filmmaker as moving a rock up a fucking hill.
Well, that's what you tell me all the time when we have we're getting ready to do some other things, and you always say, "Are you ready to move that rock up the hill?" Is what you always text me.
Because
And it is. It is a rock up a hill. Hansberry. I think I know what the answer might be, but
Right.
are you there?
No. And I feel like the theme that I've been projecting is, I think it changes. You don't want to sacrifice or compromise your goals or your dreams, but at the same time they change. Like for example, I got a couple kids, and I have the best time fucking around with the music with them. Like the boys got a drum kit, and that not necessarily isn't my dream, but part of that. When not to get all sappy, but like
Sappy's fine, man.
when you think about it, when you're sitting there in the basement and you got your 3-year-old daughter banging on the drum kit, and Davis is pounding on the keyboard, and we're screaming in the microphones, like, isn't that what you want to do anyway? Like, if you have $1 billion,
that's probably a dream that you weren't even anticipating.
Exactly, and it's adjacent. It's rock and roll adjacent.
you keep playing some
Watching
because
people,
you're my retirement now.
I went to New York. I went to New York in April to see my daughter perform, and it was a very important performance because there were people there to see her, and she knocked it out of the park. And once again, a dream you weren't counting on, a dream I wasn't counting on. I wasn't counting on a guaranteed night that I'd be able to see my daughter just perform her ass off with her music and some magnificent covers that she did. But I mean, she knocked it out of the park. That was a dream that I've had. I want my daughter to be successful, but I actually got to watch a portion of it for her. Sometimes the dreams that we have do evolve and fall back on our offspring.
Sure.
So is it like your dreams never die by extension?
I don't know.
But
you know what I mean? It's
they're
just
not
like,
he's going to want to be an accountant or something. But realistically, we had your boys actors on. I think Osbeck and some
John
of the other,
Osbeck, Ralph Scott, and Rick Napoli.
And
good guys.
I can't remember if all of them or some of them. They make a living acting. Mm-hmm. And they could walk up and down the street. Nobody probably would recognize them. But that's what they do for a living. And I think that realistically that could be achievable for me in some variation. Like, I've got a cool fucking job. I work at a radio station, do these podcasts. Yeah, it's not playing in front of bands, venues and writing songs and stuff. But
nobody's flashing their tits at you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, not even my wife. But
not even to write a really good song.
Like, honey, this is
with her name in it.
What the hell, dude? Come on.
This is a crowd petition.
Mallory rhymes with memories.
Mallory, show me your memories.
I'm sorry, Mallory. No. I'm really sorry.
I'm not there yet, but I also
couldn't help myself
think we
either,
can do
so.
it. I think it's not out of reach or out of question to keep pushing, and maybe I'm not going to sell millions of records, but
I think creative people just don't lose the spark. I don't think.
And if I can make enough money to pay the rent and do cool fucking stuff like this podcast, work at a radio station, gig every couple months or every once a month or whatever, to me that's a successful.
That sounds like a man who's given up. Just joking, dude.
Just ripped the soul right from me.
I just fucked with you.
I dug up my high school yearbook my senior year, and in the back they have the senior directory, and I'm looking at where I was and what I was thinking, and it didn't even come up in the podcast. That's how. This is a classic example. What's in here of how much I was influenced by television.
I can't wait. You teased me earlier. So.
All right. Here, lists all the activities first of all. Freshman choir.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
A cappella choir, sophomore, junior, senior year. I was in the Key Club.
Oh,
What does that mean, Key Club?
Key Club. The Key Club is a high school version of a Rotary Club.
Oh,
What
okay.
the fuck
Yeah.
a Rotary Club is?
Not enough time in this podcast. All
It's
right.
like chicken and peas.
Okay.
So-
The ping pong club.
Nice.
Sophomore year.
He's good with his hands.
Yeah. Spanish club, freshman and sophomore year. That stuck.
Do you remember any Spanish words
¿Está
at all?
Susana en casa?
Okay.
Cerveza, por favor.
¿Está Susana en casa? Is Susan at home? And someone else is supposed to see.
Did you have a girlfriend named Susan? And you just,
And someone else is supposed to say, sí, Susana en la sala. And she's in the living room.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. ¿Está Susana en
That
casa?
wasn't his line.
And they go,
No.
sí, yes. And I say, en la sala? In the living room? And they say, no, en la cocina.
In the casino.
No, she's in the kitchen.
that's like a casino.
Yeah.
Who got the easy line? C and no.
And the only other thing I know
I'm
in
going to be
Spanish
Mexican number 2.
is
in this
cerveza
one.
fría, por favor. Cerveza fría, por favor. And if I ever go to a Spanish-speaking country, ¿dónde está la biblioteca?
¿Dónde está Casa de Pepe?
¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Okay.
Where's the library?
Library,
Yeah.
So we'll drink beer in the library.
And that one, and ¡ay! ¡Una culebra! Oh, a snake.
You have to say it like that.
¡Ay! ¡Una culebra! That's what I'll do if I ever see a snake, if I'm in a Spanish-speaking country. ¡Ay! ¡Una
Just
culebra!
think how excited you'll be if you go to Mexico and see a snake.
I guarantee finally, I will be. ¡Ay! ¡Una culebra! ¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
They're like, this guy must not have any snakes up in America.
It is colder up there.
I was also in the science club. I don't know how that happened. My senior year, I don't get that one at all because I suck at science. But here's what I wrote down as far as my future: go into law enforcement and become a cop. Hopefully go as far as detective first grade.
What the fuck, dude?
Settle in New York, San Francisco, or Los Angeles.
What are you, Kreskin? What the fuck?
What?
That was close.
That was close. I was an investigator,
Yes.
but I wasn't a cop.
You lived in L.A. though for a while.
I did live in L.A., and I was in New York, and I did comedy in San Francisco. But that's another podcast for another time when I was actually pursuing law enforcement to be a police officer, and it didn't happen, and I became an investigator instead, which I know, Hansberry.
I've been asking for months
I
and
know.
months and months.
You want the
two-parter.
the down and dirty cases of Dino Tripodis,
Isn't it a
which
good one?
well, yeah, it's
We'll have to
I'm putting it here on video now. I don't care. I've been trying to get one of the people that I worked for on the podcast, and we'll get him. We'll get him.
All right. I know.
If I said earlier I was a reluctant actor, he's a reluctant guest.
All right.
All right, so that'll happen. But yeah, but I think the reason that
put a
said there is
Yeah.
New York,
Watch his
San
face.
Francisco, or
Change his
Los
voice.
Angeles is because Starsky and Hutch, Los Angeles,
Uh-huh.
New York, Beretta,
Fucking A, dude. Beretta.
Robert Blake in Beretta.
Fuck Starsky and Hutch. Fucking Beretta.
But the Starsky and Hutch, I think they were in Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure they were in Los Angeles because that sweet car would have never lasted in
No.
any other place.
No.
And San Francisco, fucking Michael Douglas and Carl Malden, Streets of San Francisco.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was all about the cop shows, when I was in high school, and so
All right.
there it is. Yeah, it didn't
Almost,
happen.
but there's connective tissue there, Dino.
There is connective tissue. There is connective
sure.
tissue, yeah. And I did study criminology, and I still study criminology.
Are you my guy? Like, you have guys, right? You're like
That's
I
what
need
brought
a
up in the
lawyer
podcast.
who
I got
can
a
get me
guy.
out of jail. I got a guy.
I got a guy.
So if I'm a guy, if I need somebody who can like look into something, are you my guy?
Depending on what you want me to look into.
Okay, well.
Give me an example.
So if I needed to find somebody,
I'm
could
your
you
guy.
be my guy?
I'm your guy.
All right. I'm the guy.
If I need to
Tom,
borrow
I'm coming
some
for you,
money-
motherfucker.
I'm your guy. I'm also your guy if you know what?
Another podcast.
Another podcast.
Yes.
Another podcast. So
I want to get. Are you wrapping it up?
I'm trying to
Well, I want to give a shout out
give a shout out.
to Jumping Jesse.
Who's Jumping Jesse?
One of our followers subscribes to us on Instagram
Nice.
or on iTunes.
Oh, not YouTube. Fuck.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Jumping Jesse, we have a YouTube account now. We invite you to subscribe. You're our 6th subscriber. Anyway, he or she, Jesse, gave us 5 stars
Wow.
and says, "Love the podcast. Never knew who I'll meet or where Dino will take me, and all while sipping whiskey. Gotta love it."
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jumping Jesse.
Thank you, Jumping Jesse.
Yes,
I
very
love
nice.
that.
Very
That's
nice.
awesome.
So we invite you to rate and review us
Rate
on
and
iTunes.
review us by all means.
please.
Rate and review us, and note that coming up, at least recording it on August 14th, Superintendent of Liquor Control for the state
Yeah,
of
we're
Ohio.
gonna get to the bottom of all this.
That's going to be a good one. He seems, I don't know the man, but all the emails I've exchanged back and forth with him, he seems very open and available and definitely willing to set the record straight as to, like I said, the myth and mythology as to, all bourbon drinkers think that Ohio gets shortchanged.
That's good to know. I'm excited to hear that.
So, I have to decide what whiskey we will have for the
You
superintendent.
gotta impress them. No pressure.
hide the
Hide the
pappy.
illegal shit.
Hide the pappy.
Hide the pappy. No, I'll say it right now. I think we'll probably go with the Weller Special Reserve.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Good stuff.
I think so. That'd be good. So, there, sort of, kind of, but not done. There, unexpectedly, with things that you love, but still holding on to the dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it could be. And me, I'm probably in the most interesting time in my life.
Yeah, where are you, Dino, with where your dreams are right
Yeah,
now?
right
'Cause
now.
we never asked
Right.
you that question.
Yeah.
You didn't give us an answer for that.
I worked at a radio station for 24 years.
Sure.
Which wasn't necessarily your dream.
Was not my dream. It turned into a lovely reality, and I have nothing but fond memories of it.
A good outlet for your comedy.
Comedy got me the radio job. It's so weird how everything gets. You talk about connected. Investigative work led me to stand up by accident. Comedy led me to radio. Radio brought me back into writing and film and so forth. So it's weird how the fabric of everything sometimes is stitched together by maybe the thinnest of threads, but nonetheless still, leads to something else. So now I am not in radio, and the question that I probably, and I say this lovingly, the question I probably hate the most is, so what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing now? I've been off radio now for a month and a half, 6 weeks, a relatively small amount of time, but it seems like forever. And I say that in a positive way because now I have an opportunity to focus a little more on the things that I was still doing when I was doing radio, our film work together,
Sure.
Theater, comedy, writing in general. I'm finishing up that book of essays by the end of the year. I am in a good place. So, am I there? Yes, and I'm kind of with you, Whitney. Yes, I'm there. I'm living the dream because I have the opportunity and the time and the resources to pursue the things that nurture me and fill me up creatively, not to sound sappy and so forth. But am I there as far as the success of them? No, of course not.
Let me put a visual on that. Your 1 foot is grounded in reality of where you're at and what you're doing and what you want to do. The other foot is through this circle of vortex, and it's like this, like
the astronaut speaking.
This blackness of nothingness. But you have 1 foot in there. You don't quite see what the other foot is. What is the other foot?
I have 1 foot. I have 1 foot in the blackness.
Yes. What is there? You don't know. Do you step through the blackness? Into the blackness?
Wait. Did I put that foot in the blackness on purpose? Is the blackness the unknown?
Only if you're okay with blackness. It's okay.
I'm fine with blackness.
I'm good with the blackness. Yeah. So
dark individual. I'm fine with the blackness.
So it's kind of like this scary thing of like stepping through the void into what is next.
Yeah, I'm no. I'm gonna agree with that because I have absolutely no
more wine.
More wine and water for our horses. I am kind of. I hate to sound like that new agey type of individual, but on some level, I guess it would qualify. I'm kind of letting the universe dictate things for a little bit. And I've never had the opportunity to do that. And I'm not getting any younger. So if there was a time to, all right, universe, show me what you got and see if you point me in a different direction. My dream at 59 years of age isn't so much a dream, it's a statement. I know I have 1 chapter left. There's another chapter still to be written. I'm not done. Is that fair? You're not done. No. You're certainly not done. You're the youngest of this trio.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope I'm
not done.
I wouldn't kill. That'd be wrong. But I would love to know what I know now. You've heard that cliche
That's
a
the
million
old
times.
argument,
Yeah. I would love to know what I know now about life and be your age.
Yeah.
Even though I feel that I've always been an old soul to begin with, I still would love to know what I've known and learned about life and be at your age. I would do things maybe not differently, but with more self-assurance.
Sure. And part of that for me is just that self-assurance. Yeah.
Doubt.
Let's do it.
Self-doubt is self-doubt is a killer.
I think
oh my
there's
God, yes.
There's
you have self-doubt.
Absolutely.
You have a huge amount of self-doubt.
I do. I'm the most self-doubty kind of guy there is.
I mean, through the entire process of the film that we made, you would get bummed out, and I'd have to remind you of how good you really are. And that's fine. It's okay.
Have some more Weller.
No, I don't have another.
I'll pat you on the back.
But that's okay. It's good to have people like that. I'm in your corner. You're in my corner. You're in my corner.
Yeah.
We have wonderful aspirations as to what this podcast can be. We know there are literally thousands and thousands of podcasts out there, and that people have a choice. We appreciate the small amount of people that listen to this one as it is.
Jumpin' Jesse.
Yeah,
so
Jumpin' Jesse.
Do dreamers need to have people that can support the dream?
I don't know if they need people to support the dream, but it doesn't fucking hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt when somebody gets on board with your dream and believes and supports what you believe in. That can only help.
I believe in people that support the dream and live the dream and want to live the dream. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like if you can surround yourself with people that are dreamers, dreams can come true.
There you go.
Cue the music, Hansberry.
I think you almost paraphrased what Walt Disney said earlier. So, not so much. It wasn't Mike Tyson-y, but it definitely had a Disney feel to it.
Minus the tattoo.
So, people, I guess if we're coming, not that we were trying to preach a lesson here this evening, by any stretch of the imagination. But dreams are good. Dreams are good. Dreams are necessary. Dreams keep you vital. Dreams keep you moving. So never, as John Whitney said, stop dreaming, because and I'll quote Mickey Rourke from Diner again. If you're not dreaming, Bagel, you got nightmares. Let me close things up by saying Whiskey Business is a Never the Luck production, produced by producer extraordinaire and tonight's guest, Greg Hansberry. Also, stepping into new worlds with videography by John Whitney on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you, John. I much appreciated. I appreciate it.
No worries.
And
having fun.
All the opinions are those of myself and my guests, sometimes reluctant, sometimes not. I think tonight's conversation was as honest as three guys can get.
It was a good one.
About where they're at in life and what their dreams have been and what their dreams may still be. So hopefully you got something out of it, and if it inspires you, all the better. Until the next bottle, see ya.